Hi, Ariana.
Hi,
It's so good to see you.
I'm glad to be here.
For those that might not be watching but are just listening, we showed up and realized we're matchy matchy. We're twinsies today.
Well,
And
it's
I
because it's October and these are
it's the
autumnal
fall.
colors.
This is our pumpkin spice latte sweater,
This is sweater season.
which I'm so ready for. This is actually, of all the seasons, I think it's my favorite. Everyone always asks why it's not spring, but I feel like fall for
Mm,
me is such a moment of reflection and a moment to like get a little quiet. And I'm more comfortable with that quiet in my life than I think I ever have been. And so I welcome that in a lot differently, maybe than I used to.
yeah, I always say like I live by the seasons, so I
Mm,
don't I like pretty intentionally. It's like a little bit of my like witchy self, but also just part of my way of being. And so I don't have a favorite because each of them
so special and
like special
unique.
and like brings out parts of me that I love that I'm like,
Yes.
oh, this season, So we're heading one of my favorites, which is hibernation season, where I'm just like, cozy, cozy. Um,
Yes. I'm ready
but
for that. So, Ariana and I have known each other since I would like to say since we were babies, because I feel like that's now how I look at
yeah,
people that were our age when we met. We were in our early 20s, gallivanting around San Francisco, having time of my life. I
mhm.
loved the years that we were there together. Mutual friends brought us together, and she's just one of those people that you might have already heard this and what she was just sharing, but she just has such a light
Mm.
and she radiates this like creative warmth. She's incredibly lovely, incredibly smart, and I will say she's always willing to like go there, as I like to say, which is which is my favorite because I can sometimes be a lot for people. They're like, "Why are we what I didn't even get to tell you how I feel about the weather yet." And I'm like, "Tell me your deepest darkest
Oh,
secrets.
I
I
am
want to
for
know it
sure the
all."
one at the party who's like in the corner with the one person and we're like crying, and everyone's like, you didn't even say hi to me. I'm like, it's fine. We were having a thing over here. We're cool.
Yes, that is so real. It makes me feel a kindred spirit to you, knowing that there's others in the world that are navigating conversations in that way.
That's right. I'm like a little bit allergic to small talk, but like going deep with a stranger, just anytime, any
Yes,
day. Yeah.
anytime,
Yeah.
anytime. She's the mom to two incredible kiddos. We were actually just talking about what it means for her children to be growing up and how that is shifting some of her own energy output. But she's the co-founder and managing partner of Flight Design Co., which is I'll let her tell you more about it, but I'll give you just the highlight, which is graphic design studio dedicated to supporting purpose-driven organizations. And I believe it's been close to 15 years, but you can correct me on that if that's
It
not right.
has been close to
Um,
15 years. Yeah.
Also, the co founder of Kindredly,
Hmm.
which is just a really incredible and special group of people that the way you talk about it and the way it's written is reimagining the way that we work, live, and engage in our communities. And I think that's a really beautiful way of speaking about it because I think so many times these types of communities can be your professional identity or your personal identity, and the fact that it's people bringing all of those components to the table and talking through some of their challenges or supporting people through kind of what they're witnessing or navigating. It's just not your average community, any that I've seen anyhow. They're people that show up for each other and for themselves, which I think is really important. It's not just about supporting other, but it's being accountable to yourself and your own hopes
Yeah.
and dreams. And it's really, you can see just by the connective tissue that's created. I went to one meetup earlier this year, and I still see people that I met at that time communicating online, supporting each other. And it's just a really beautiful thing to see. It's really, really inspiring. It was actually through a series of conversations at one of those meetups and encouragement from Ariana that I finally let go of my fear and some of my perfectionism and started to put some content out there. And so I have your group and you to
I
thank
love
for some
that.
of that.
Yay.
Hopefully, other people are not, saying, "Oh man, wish you would have done
What?
that."
God, where'd she get that advice? Get that girl to quiet down.
Yeah. She's everywhere now.
Please.
What is going
No,
on?
more, more, more.
So, I mean, I will have so many questions for you because what you're creating is so unique and so beautiful. But I think I'd like to just start with, have you always seen yourself as an entrepreneur, or did you see yourself when you were younger being drawn to creating or to building something for yourself? Or is that something that was a little bit more surprising for you?
Hmm. I think my entrepreneurial self, I think that the truer sense is that I've always been a creative
Yeah.
and um, and a community builder. So when those two things overlap, like entrepreneurship is kind of, I don't know if it's inevitable, but it's a very kind of cohesive way to follow those two through lines. So yeah, I was never like, oh, I'm definitely going to start a business. And also, I was the kid who was like lemonade standing and selling friendship bracelets and coming up with very like various groups and organizations and different ways of engaging in my community throughout my entire life. So it's
Hmm.
not, I don't think it was shocking to anyone.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think also there was like a real, I've always had a little bit more comfort with risk taking
Hmm.
than I think the average person,
Yeah.
maybe, at least in my experience. And so I also was someone who was just like, I'm not going to go the conventional route.
Hmm.
Um, And so I think that was another part where I was like, I don't know, let's make something. I can make up rules and like
Yeah.
go a different direction. And so that yeah, that feels more true probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you have been able to say that about, like, when you look back on earlier childhood, do you see that as a through line from a risk taking and kind of being, pushing the boundaries a little bit on what the norm might have been?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And I think yeah, I mean I think the through line is like yeah, it's like a little wild. I was like a slightly feral child, like my fate, we lived in this like 800 square foot old farmhouse, 4-room farmhouse that was on about half an acre in a small town in Northern California. And so my mom was always just like, get the hell out of this,
I need some
like
space.
leave, like you cannot. And so I just like there wasn't enough space for my amount of energy. And so I lived outside in our yard and like in the
Mm,
apple trees and in the blackberry bushes um, and all of that. So I think that energy just led to me like climbing the tallest trees. And I was a wilderness guide for a while. Like I was a whitewater river guide and I did all the adrenaline seeking outdoor adventure things.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I have stories that we won't get into of just like, I'm really glad I'm alive because of that,
I
yay.
think about that a lot. In fact, I think Nessa and I shared
Yeah,
that with each other in
I
our last
agree with that.
conversation, where it's like, yeah, there are things that if my children were making that decision, I would be like, oh, hell no. Like, what?
I'm sorry. What are you doing? Yeah,
Honest to
exactly right.
God, my mom and I just chatted, I think earlier this week, and she was like, Kristen, I was thinking recently about something that happened when you were living in San Francisco, and I cannot believe, I feel like if that happened now, I would not live through it. This, like, how did I, as a mom, allow that to happen, or like, say like, okay? And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I didn't give you a choice, number one. And, like,
Computer is just kind of doing the thing. Yeah, and I mean it's wild because I have a, almost 17-year-old now.
yeah.
And watching it is this like phase of being able to really become your own human and trust that they're going to take the risks they need to take and the adventures they need to take and that they have enough sense to be able to show up for themselves, like
Yes.
that is
Yes.
it. But I mean, I think I also parented a little bit that way. I was the parent where my kids like on the top of the play structure and everyone in the
It's like,
they're like, and I'm like, he's fine. He knows his limits. Like, we're cool, They're like, okay. And it meant that my kids are very aware of their own boundaries because they know mom is not going to be helicoptering
helping.
them. Which
Yes.
it has its pluses and minuses. I'm sure they'll be in therapy for it in some way, but yeah, it's so that's kind of that risk taking, that adventure seeking has always been there.
Been
And
in
I
you.
think that it transitioned to, before I started the design studio, I went into coaching. And prior to that, I was working in youth development. So it was like wilderness guide to youth development to career and leadership coach to this design studio where we do a lot of branding. And I think all along the way, the thing that I'm doing is guiding people through scary shit and
Mm.
helping them be themselves through it. Right. And so whether
Ooh,
that's like
yeah.
practical of, oh, you're facing your fear of getting in this like rapid and knowing your boundaries and what that is, to talking to a high school. I worked at a high school in East Oakland and talking to a high schooler about like, who do they want to be in the world? And what does that
Mm.
mean? And what does that mean for family? You know, all of those pieces. And again, facing that fear and having to stay true to yourself and move through it. And now when I work with entrepreneurs, it's the same thing, right? Like, how do I be more of myself and face
Mm.
that fear of failure or fear of success or fear, you know, any of those pieces.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, I love that.
so there
That's
really
such
is a
a
through line,
yes.
and it's all connected, right? It's all connected to that, those themes of creativity and self-expression and like adventure, like being in that risk space.
Yes. Do you, this is maybe a weird question, but it triggered something for me when you were talking about navigating fear and what it means, especially, with a startup or entrepreneur. Do you ever find that there could also be maybe a fear of actually getting to know themselves through that process and what that might bring up for them as they're building or moving or evolving?
Yeah, I mean, when we like we do a lot of visual identities. So we have this design studio and we work with majority of like purpose driven or values driven organizations, which as we've grown, I mean, like you said, it's been 15 years. So we work with kind of bigger organizations. So it's less personal now,
Mm.
but we still work with individuals, you know, like who are starting their own consultancy, or it's their art or in some way that we're branding, or it's something along those lines. But when we started, I was kind of adverse to branding. I was like, ooh, like that doesn't, I'm all about authenticity. I'm all about your own expression and like artistry and all of that. This feels like smoke and mirrors. And then when I dove into it and realized, again, like, how do we do it our way? I'm not working for some brand agency that's teaching me. Instead, we're kind of coming up with our own way of building brands. And I realized it's actually more, at least when we go through the process, about stripping away the hidden pieces to the heart of the work you're doing.
Yeah.
And how do we tell that story both visually and, you know, through messaging? So often when it really sings with clients, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm reflected back to myself.
Yes. Yes. Right.
Right?
Because I think it
Like,
can be
oh,
so
this feels
hard.
like me. So oftentimes we're like, oh, that's not, you don't need that, or that's a story you're telling, or just because this other, you know, jewelry designer does it this way doesn't mean that you need to be you. I mean, I say
Yeah.
all the time, the thing that you are worried about people finding out, like the thing that you're like, this is my weirdest thing. That's what
People
I
are
want
like,
to
sell
know.
it.
And we're
Yes.
going to lean into that because that's the thing that's actually going to differentiate you from anyone else.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I think that that is so, I think it's particularly for people of a generation and potentially also women identifying of a generation. There is a theme that I'm starting to kind of hear come up, which is so much around that fear to allow themselves to be seen, not only by others, but even by themselves, to actually acknowledge and embrace the parts that make us, unique and wonderful and incredible and all the things, because many of us have molded ourselves to some other, maybe what we thought a vision of success or whatever might look like, but we realize at some point it doesn't fit quite right.
Yeah.
And so to dig into that, I can imagine you get into all kinds of interesting conversations.
Oh, totally. And I think I was mentioning to you, I went through my own version of that. And it wasn't so much through the design studio, although I'm sure there was a little bit of that early on in the evolution of that career. But I was always someone who was, you know, I say it's like I'm a recovering achievement
Yeah.
addict. It
Yeah.
was like next thing, like, okay, get straight A's, get into the college, get the full ride scholarship, become the hood recipient. I mean, I was like, next thing, next thing, next thing. And so much of those achievements, I mean, I got the husband and the two kids and like the house and all of it. And I woke up in it being like, I mean, I even got the business. Like I was like, okay, now I'm doing my business and I have the things. And I was like, this feels so like an itchy sweater. I was just
Mm.
like, ugh, like this isn't me. And I think probably harkening back to the like, I have some comfort in risk. And I have
Yeah.
always been someone who's like, whoa, I don't need to do it the conventional way. Let me figure out. I had to blow it up and be like,
Mm.
what else is here? And a lot of that journey, this has been over the last decade or so, has been through being more true to myself. And really a big part of that was honoring my inner artist, which I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not an artist. I'm creative or like whatever. But I've been writing poetry since I could write, like
Yeah.
six. I have books and books and books and books of it. And so 10 years ago, I started, it's an interesting story. I mean, we're going down this path. I hope it's okay telling the story, but do you know of the 100-Day Project?
No.
Heard of that? Okay.
Wait,
So
is this the one? Is this the like 100 days of doing a creative act and
yeah.
every day? Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So El Luna at the time was running this 10 years ago, and it was like an online group. It was like through Instagram. And so my business partner and founder, Katrina, was like, her friend of yours, but
Yes.
she was like, we have to do this. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I decided to write one line of poetry every day.
Mm.
And the thing that poured out of me was this poem that if you read, you'd be like,
You
laugh
good?
at yourself. Like, you okay? You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, interesting. And then the crazy part is it's actually called Wild. And it spoke so much to one of my friends who was a photographer that she was like, we need to turn this into a visual
Mm.
story. And so she and I, with 5 children between us under the age of 6, set out to turn this poem into pictures, into images. And in the process, also the images into poetry. It was this like beautiful thing. And so we had these babies with us, and I got naked, literally naked, and was out in the, I mean, I broke into abandoned buildings. I jumped into Mall of Say
What?
naked. I'm not kidding. This
How do I not know about this? This is the
this
best
is
thing
here you are.
ever.
Well, because you don't know about it, because we probably shot over 3 or 4 years, and then I ended up getting divorced. Like there were so many things. She moved out of the area. COVID hit. All of this
Yeah.
stuff happened, and so the project never like was revealed, but it's going to be.
I was just going to say, please tell me that it's going
It's
to see the
coming.
light of
Yes.
day.
So the crazy
Okay.
part is that this year it came back around and she's like, I think it's time. So it's coming at some point and it's in process. We're making it into, to start with, like a zine that you can purchase, a little book, self-published book, but we're definitely hoping to show it somewhere as well.
That is so cool.
But that poem and then project and all of that led to so much of me listening and leading into this through line of creativity and expression through photography and poetry. And literally last week, I launched a website for myself that combines all of the things.
Oh,
And
yay.
it felt like this moment of being like, oh, I am an artist. I am a photographer. I am a writer. I also own this design studio. I run this design studio. I also am a community builder. I was able to bring them all together and see myself in that way. So it's interesting that you were saying that about, do clients do that? And they do. Like, I just did that. Literally, I'm like,
Yes.
Here I
Oh
am.
my God. I have so much that I want to talk about with that because there's so much there. One, around what you just said, because I think that this will feel very compelling to people who might be multifaceted and
Yeah.
have things that they are passionate about, but might not fit neatly into what we consider the like confines or a structure of a career or a business. And I think about this for myself all the time as well. I shared this with you before we started recording. You go out to build a business, and along the way, you might start stumbling into things that remind you, like, oh, wait, I love storytelling. Oh, wait, I love creating content. I too, right, am an artist. But we don't typically as a
Yeah.
society, I think, honor that, because it's like,
Right.
well, here you are, especially, I will say, like, shout out to whatever's going on LinkedIn, where now it's not just you're showing up with
Yeah.
your
I know.
corporate
Weird
self. Like,
LinkedIn is like my new favorite thing, by the way.
yes, it's fantastic because it's real. And it's
Yeah.
actually what makes us amazing at what we do as
Yeah.
humans, right? We are great in our careers or our professions
Yeah.
because of all of these other elements and who we are. So I cannot wait for that to be sent out on the platform so that folks can see what that might look
Yeah,
like in
it's not, I
practice.
haven't even shared it. It's like pre out.
Oh
Both
my
of the
God.
things I just talked about are like, you're the hearing about it
Oh,
first.
I'm so excited because that's hugely beneficial, I think, for folks that might not be able, that might feel that in themselves, but might not be able to see it for themselves just yet.
But the
The
thing
other,
that I find is it's about where I had to come true was at first when I was first thinking about launching the website, it was like, oh, if this wild project is coming out, I need somewhere for
to
people to
put
like
it,
to put it, right?
yeah,
And it didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense on my design studio. It didn't make sense for Kindle. Like none of the other existing platforms made sense. And so I was like, oh, I'll do an artist website. And then it was going to be my name as the URL. And I'm like, this isn't just who I am though either, right? I was starting to teach more. And these students, I would rather give them this so they could see all of my things if they want. And really starting to see myself as the fullness of
mm,
all the multifaceted expressions that I have out in the world. And so then I figured out a way to really tell that through line. And yeah, it like, I'm like, of course, my creativeness and artistry comes through when I am holding space in community, right? Like
yeah,
that's there. Or the way that I embrace nature and the emergence, right, of new things shows up in the way I run my business. They're not separate.
separate,
Like
right,
I am
right,
one human. And I don't know that I mean, as a brand person, I don't know that always works
totally,
super well, but I
yes,
do think when you're creating a personal professional brand, it needs to. You need to
yeah,
be able to tell that story. And then each kind of facet might need its own brand as well. Which,
yes,
like
right.
I think
I
that
think that through line though is such to your point, that's the trick. And I think that is part of the journey when you're thinking about how you want to share your work, or, the quote unquote, what you want people to know you for, right?
Mhm.
It's, you have to be able to look at and not just bucket these things as these individualized experiences. There's something there that
Yeah.
was stacking to get you to where you are today. And how do you articulate that in a way that feels true to where you want to be or where you're headed? And I think
Yeah.
that's really hard to do. It's not easy to reflect on your own journey in that way. It's helpful, I think, to have a guide or somebody that can coach you through that, because you can spend a lot of time. And I know this because I have done it. I have spent so much time in reflection, and you can get really in your head in a way that the reflection is important. But I think somebody to help hold a mirror up is also really, really
Yeah.
important in that process.
But you never know. I mean, so I write on Substack. That's one of the things that I
Yeah.
started maybe 2 years ago at this point. And my writing on Substack is personal essays. They are not about brand or professional stuff at all.
Yeah.
But I will occasionally share them on LinkedIn with this, like, this has been my dipping the toe into being a full self out in the
Yeah.
world, or like cross pollinating those audiences. And I mean, I don't have a ton of followers. This is not like a big platform by any means, but I have, 2 paid subscribers. Of course, my dad is one of them. But
Yeah. Yes, Dad, we love you.
but the other one is this very professional, like from an org, the ED, like definitely not someone that I met in a like, and she's just like, I love your writing. I want to support, like, and it's
I
like one
love
of those
that.
pieces where you're like, I don't know you in a real, it's not like we socialize. It's not like one of those professional relationships that's gone friendship. She's a full client and she just is like, yes, I love this part of you. And
That's so cool.
you just never know. I think that it's what makes us unique and human, which is
Yeah.
what we need more of right now, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. I also think one of the things that you touched on that I think is super important is we're all, any ambitious person, anybody that is, excited to find success in whatever way they want to describe that for themselves. We want instant gratification. We want the thing to happen now. And it's really, really hard sometimes to be patient with what it means. You're talking about building an art piece from however many years ago,
Mhm.
finally coming to fruition.
Mhm.
And I think we we tend to see the final piece as the consumer, as the audience, and think like, wow, this brilliant thing just came out of this person's head. And like, why can't I do that? And the reality is, probably more often than not, this is something that was cycled from like however many moons of creation and experience. And that's what makes it so rich and so beautiful, is that now it's being shared in this entirely new context. And I think that is in any part of business and creativity, in anything, to allow to let that breathe is really hard.
Sure. And even, I mean, I think people say that all the time, like, oh my gosh, your fame came overnight or what. And you're like, did you see
No.
the years of effort?
Yes.
Or even when there's some like a snowball effect that happens, which I've seen, and I think that that's awesome when it does, there's so much buildup regardless, even if it doesn't, even if it's not visible, or even if you haven't seen the backlog, it's there.
Totally. Totally. Yes. And then the last thing I wanted to say was, if anybody is interested in anything related to the 100 Days Project, this is so funny. I literally have this book sitting right next to me. And I swear this wasn't a plant, but this is this author.
And also, that's our book club book this month, just FYI.
It is not.
Yeah, you should come to our book club.
Wait, are you being serious?
Yeah, it's all of your friends, so you're welcome to come. You are invited.
Wait, I'm dead.
No.
That is the funniest thing. Her first book or this one?
This one.
Oh my God. Okay. So if this woman wrote, did you read her first book?
No, but I followed her Substack. So
it's absolutely
about
gorgeous. Yeah. It is called Between Two Kingdoms, and it's her entire reflection and journey of navigating an illness that just totally took her down. And the two kingdoms are one of health and one of sickness, and what it meant for her to walk through that. I got this book, which is called The Book of Alchemy, simply because I adored that book so much. Anytime I love an author, I'm like, well, I'll just get whatever they come out with. I won't even look at it. I had no idea that it's a daily creative practice, and you are given a journal prompt every day. I have not done it every single day. I'll be totally real about it, but it's something I keep coming back to because it's such a beautiful way just to get the wheels turning a little bit. You don't have to be a writer. It doesn't have to be that you're super interested in writing as a practice, but just the prompts themselves. A few have been so incredible, just for somebody too that has a terrible memory. Terrible. I need somebody to be like, think specifically about this. And then it all starts to come out. I really can't get over the fact that you guys are reading this book.
Well, I mean, we're starting like this, like we had book club last night. It's starting for this next month. We're meeting in November. But yes, I got the book like months ago. It's actually my picks for this coming month because I'm hosting. And I got the book months ago and then was like, oh, this is the book that we're sharing. And I gave everyone a heads up because I'm like, there's, I think 100 of them.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And I was like, it's supposed to be a daily practice. It won't work if you wait until the month that we're doing this. So you might want
to start first. Yes.
But I've been doing them periodically, but I'm going to challenge myself starting today to try and do the
every day
up until the book club. Yeah. So
okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that as some accountability. Yes.
But I think so she speaks about this, and I think you're right. So it started with this professor. Somehow the professor is connected with the artist El Luna, and I don't know the whole story.
Okay.
She's a Bay Area artist. And so she somehow got the license of 100 Day Project from somehow. There was like a thing. And so then she really, again, a decade ago, shared it far and wide as this practice. And there were tons of people that were a part of it. And then I think she passed it on to this woman, Lindsay. There's been a lot of iterations. I don't know if it still exists, but at the heyday, it was amazing because everyone picked a different 100-day project, right? Like the professor's assignment. Right. And then you would kind of name it. So mine was hashtag 100 days of writing one line of poetry a day, right? Yeah. But our friend, I mean, I've mentioned her now twice, but my co-founder, Katrina, that's how her book came about. Was the
seriously?
Yeah.
Are you serious? I had no idea.
She started by doing these visualizations of song lyrics. I mean, I don't think she made it through a full 100 because they were kind of more complicated, but that's how it all started.
That's how her song lyric project started?
Yes. And
oh my gosh.
The same year. And then a book agent saw the success. We did an art show and we sold prints through Flight Design. But then a book agent was like, I want to pitch your book. And so then she got a HarperCollins book deal with it.
Okay, this is crazy. Okay, so obviously, hey Katrina, you're coming on next. Prepare yourself.
There. That's great. I'm just like bringing her along. Yeah.
That is so cool. Yes, I think for anybody that's interested in tapping into a practice outside of what they might be, engaged in on the daily, it is a really nice way of, yeah, just kind of committing yourself because it doesn't have to be a huge lift. I think there's so many things I've followed over the last few years. Mel Robbins does this in her launch program, which is just do 15 minutes a day
Yeah.
every day. It does not have to be, and this is something I'm also terrible at because I feel like if I can't do it for 4 hours a day, then forget it. I may as well just say,
Yeah.
never mind. And the reality is what you get when you stack, those tiny moments of time over the course of 90 days, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be shocked at how much you've either uncovered or gotten done. But that's just not the way I'm wired. And so I really have to fight against this
Mm-hmm.
need or desire to have all the space in the world to do these creative things. So
I
this
know.
is a good
And I
reminder.
mean, we live in a culture. This comes back to the other thing I talk about all the time. I mean, capitalism forces this productivity, this attachment to achievement, this drive, and hustle culture that finally I feel like people are talking about how it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been trying to unlearn this again through this whole decade long evolution of my own. And creativity just immediately gets you in your body. Like
Yeah.
you can't hustle it. Like if
Right.
you're actually in it, you can't hustle it.
Yes.
So that kind of just like a minute of it, like you said, is just so helpful to kind of counter.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I want to take you into, you're this successful design studio co-owner. You have built
I love
this
that story.
business.
Oh my goodness, you are. That
I'm
is
good. Yes, I know. See, every time I'm in these, I feel like sometimes I look around, I'm like, how am I friends with these people? They're so amazing. They're doing such cool stuff. Um, what what was kind of the impetus when you started thinking about what you now are calling Kindredly? Was there something that really drove you to? I know you have shared that you've always been a community builder, but this is
yeah.
incredibly intentional. This is not just like a, kind of organic, soft thing. This is something
No, it
with,
is very organic actually. It's
but
like
in the sense of it's not like people are just randomly every once
no,
in a
no,
while coming
no. But I
together.
just
There's
mean
like a,
the way it emerged was incredible, was the most. So the book I will plug that changed my life most recently was Emergent Strategy by Adrian
ugh,
Brown,
so
which is
good. Yes.
so good. And well, that one, and I haven't actually finished the whole book, but I saw them speak at a book launch. Oh, and I'm not going to we'll have to put the link or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't remember the authors, but it's called Beloved Economies.
Ooh, I don't know that
Um,
one.
and the idea, so Beloved Economies gave me this idea of what does business look like from a post-capitalist lens? Is there a way to generate money and economy, grow an economy without it being um, like extractive and exploitive and
Mm,
from this, top down, not sustainable kind of
yeah.
structure that we currently exist in. And so the book goes through kind of like case studies of businesses that are doing it differently. And
Mm,
so I was already thinking about that. And then Adrienne Marie Brown's idea of this like emergence, letting things unfold instead of
yeah.
this. Again, I was trying to unlearn this idea of like set a goal, have a vision, go
Yes.
after it, like I have to drive, achieve, and instead be like, all right. And the beautiful thing about Kindredly was, so I had a friend, my co-founder Luisa Alberto, she has a really wonderful financial agency, so she does like bookkeeping and tax management and stuff for companies that are very similar to ours, so we always have kind of been collaborative. I was her client, she was my client, we just connected, but we have always been aligned in values. And I was like, I want to do something with
Mm,
her around this. So when
mm,
we met, I was like, I want to do something. I don't know what it is, but I want to gather people that think like us, that are trying to do business differently. And so at first we were like, maybe it's a book club. We didn't know what it was going to be. And so we just kind of started meeting and
mm,
inviting people in. And I, over the years, have done this practice called that I've coined creative roundtabling, where you get four people together and each person gets a turn to be the focus, and everyone then workshops with them whatever they need support with. And so for all of these founders that are either like a solo founder and so they're alone in that world, or even just the folks that are like solopreneurs and working for themselves, it's this space to get this other perspectives and thought partnership. And when you bring people from different industries and different experience levels and all of that, it's like this magical thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just tried that at first. And that's the thing that everyone loved. And so they're like, we want in person. And since then, we've just tried other things and seen what people want and asked them. And it's now this robust community of like 70 plus people that are all trying to reimagine, yeah, like what does business look like if we remove the white supremacist, patriarchal,
Yeah.
capitalist structures that we are
Mm.
existing in? And
Mm.
instead, what does a matriarchal business structure look like? It's definitely collaborative. It's definitely community founded. It's not so much driving, but it's probably more like all of those things. We're like, oh, what is that? And so we have gotten, because we have these other businesses that are supporting our lives, this one we can really let have its freedom, kind of like,
Yeah.
can it support itself? And that
Yes.
has
Yeah.
given it this breathing room to just become what it is.
It's so beautiful. I feel like the best communities, that's how they start, right? It's with a desire to connect. It's with a way of thinking differently. Did you ever read Rachel Rogers? She wrote We Should All Be Millionaires, which is a
Oh,
little bit of a,
yeah.
yeah.
It's a big one in the community. I haven't read it, but
Okay.
a lot of people talk about it.
It's amazing. She's amazing. She's hilarious. And it's a little bit of like a, tongue in cheek title, but truly she is talking about women, minority women in particular, and our relationship to wealth and what it means to reimagine that for ourselves and to get comfortable with a new definition. And part of what she talks about is, if you don't have the community, if it hasn't been built yet, then make it, then create it, because guaranteed there's other people that are also looking for that community. And to see it thriving in the way that it is, it's like you can tell when you walk into a room how you feel when you walk in. And you have found some version of your people when you walk into a room and you can like breathe easy, or you don't feel nervous when you're having a conversation with someone, which is exactly how I felt when I, showed up for the in-person meeting that I came to, which is counter to, this is a tiny bit of a tangent, but I'm really curious if you have thoughts on this, because I went to an event here locally, and I want to be careful here because this is not a criticism of what they did at all. It was a very different gathering, and it was really around investment, startup community, right? VC funding. How do you bring organizations that are looking for investment into a room with folks that are ready to invest? So it's a totally different kind of person in the room that has a different mindset, whatever. And I was looking around the room, and shocker of all shockers, I was one of like 10 women, right? And I'm looking around, and every company that is being shown is male founded, and every single one person put up a slide of their board, and it was literally 15 dudes. And I was like, I was getting so distracted because I'm like, I can't quite get past the fact that here we are again. And I was thinking about it because I'm like, how do you have this conversation in a way that's constructive, not just like, oh, where's the women? It's a literal, what can we be doing? And what came up for me was, what can we be doing as a region? And maybe these conversations are already happening and I just don't know yet, and I haven't tapped into them. But we have an opportunity as a growing community to be doing things differently. What are the environments? What are the scenarios? What are the systems that we need to create in order for women to have more of an opportunity to either be in these spaces, to be building the thing? I think I finally came back to, it's really not about how do we get more women founded businesses. It's what do we need to do to create the environment for that to happen? Because it's not a lack of incredible intellect or ability or creativity. It's typically the woman is taking on more of the caretaking duties, or, the whatever duties that fall outside of what it means. Somebody posted something about Steve Jobs recently that was like, he was so good at identifying the signal versus the noise. I'm like, well, no shit, because that's what he got to do. Like, he got to do that. He got to focus on the signal. We typically and traditionally as women don't have that opportunity. And so it just got my brain spinning. And I'm wondering if you have thoughts on that or
Yeah,
if you've
no.
seen it being
Well,
done
I have
differently.
two thoughts on this topic. I mean, I have a million thoughts on this topic. It's like one of the things I think about all the time. But the two comments I want to make, one is we did a project. This was years ago now, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I did it with this incredible data visualizer named Catherine Madden. She's a collaborator I work with all the time, and she's just awesome. And she and I got hired to run these focus groups for Gavin Newsom's wife, Jennifer
Cybele Newsom. Yeah.
Newsom. Thank you.
Yes.
Her like governor wife project. There's two of them, but the one that we were working on was about getting equity on corporate boards in California. And so they passed legislation that required 50% women. They were
Yeah.
starting with women, but they had a whole plan of then it being about diversity of race and age, all these other
Right.
markers. And so they were holding these focus groups with all these organizations, VC funds, the like women's funds, the people that have been fighting for this equity. And I facilitated the focus group and Catherine
Yeah.
visualized it
Yeah.
to get this information that then they were using to move their cause forward. So these conversations are happening. But the thing that I was going to say that happened with kind of this political climate shift was there was a lot of momentum for that. And then basically this legislation got canceled in high
Yeah.
court. And so now it's no longer required.
Yeah.
The thing,
Right.
right? So there were these ways to actually build infrastructure for these diversity requirements. But a lot of what was being said in those conversations was like, I can get women on board. I can get you women that are qualified. Because a lot of people are like, oh, there's not enough quality. And you're like, no, 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 I have a list. But when they
Yes.
arrive, they're not heard. They don't feel
Right.
welcome. There's not like any, so it's like a
Yeah.
culture shift
Right.
that needs to happen because all the data, there is a business case. All the data shows that your business, you have higher profit margins with a more diverse board, period.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It's just like
Yes.
that is what all of the research shows. And yet
Yeah.
the like white cis man is holding on with like tooth and nail to like
Yeah.
something that is antiquated and outdated. And honestly, like anti-capitalist is not going to make you more money. Like,
Totally. Yes. Well, I think that's a good parallel because, in my mind, when I was specifically thinking about female founded companies, because I will get the counter when I say 2% of VC funding goes to female founded businesses. They're like, well, that's not true, but that isn't true. You can attack on a couple extra percentage points if it's female and male founded, right? Because that
right.
counts. But female only founded businesses. And I think where I'm curious is, are the conversations happening on a local level where there's just, in my mind, more opportunity
Yeah.
to create a shift when you're doing things based on a community or a region. All of those initiatives are incredibly important and I support all of them. I'm just curious if there's additional work that can be done in the
Yeah.
conversations that are happening
Yeah.
locally.
And I think it's also around, there are many different kind of like incubators that focus on this and all
Right.
of that. But like right now, they're all being scrutinized and can't show that because DEI is
Right.
like, right. So I think we're in a particular moment where it's like this covert operation of,
Yeah.
of creating these spaces where we're like, hey, we're kind of building some things, but we're not really talking,
Yes.
and for me, I agree. I think that there's so much opportunity in small business to try these things on and practice pieces that I believe will move culture forward because it's able to incubate in that kind of smaller space where there's way more flexibility and we don't have boards that we're adhering to any of, there's no, we're making it happen. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I think, I mean, it's a good fight. It's a good fight to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yes.
other thing I was going to say though, that I do want to just mention because I'm like on a big kick and I kind of spoke to you about this as well, but there is this idea of humans are one of the only, like one of three mammals that go through menopause. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that evolutionarily speaking, the only reason for them to do that, right? Because otherwise we would die. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? It must increase longevity, is
Mm,
because we have teaching to do. We have wisdom to share. That's like
mm,
what they see in the whale populations and the elephants that also do this, right?
yeah.
So there's this idea of these elder women actually showing the way. They're leading the way. And I think that that's this second phase. Like, that's what I think we need more of, is not, I mean, I want women founders at all ages, but I think there's also this erasure that happens when I actually think women need to be stepping into the leaders even more. And
Yeah.
instead, it's like they become invisible.
Put out to pasture.
Correct. And I'm like, no, no, no. And one of the things this professor was talking about was like, also women live longer. So
Yeah.
evolutionarily speaking, it's like, no, no, no. They're the ones we're supposed to be learning from and are
Yeah.
supposed to lead the pack, if you will,
Hmm. Hmm.
because that's what the biology is showing. And I love that as a metaphor, just like nature kind of teaching us back to ourselves. But that's where I think it goes, is like, let them step in instead of all these old white guys to lead the boards that are helping the new founders. And it could be men founders that they're helping, but that's the role of the board, is this wisdom, this guidance, this,
Yeah.
experience. And I think that I just like, that makes way more sense. And so,
Well, I like that. My husband and I talk about this a lot, especially with raising a son and a daughter, but this doesn't have to be a zero sum game. It's not like, oh, we're trying to uplift women to the point where we're trying to take over your spot in line. It's like, by being in these spaces together, incredible things can happen, and in support of each other, right? And so it's, how do we create space for both? Not like I think, and others would argue differently, and I welcome that argument, which is, no, actually they've had their turn, it's our turn, move out the way. And I
right.
think there's other people doing great work in that space. It's not my particular belief or approach. I think that there's nuance and there's more to be found in the bringing together. So I recognize that that is not the way everybody views this, but I love the idea of what it means to be bringing wisdom forward. And that's actually literally part of the inspiration for doing this series, is I was having
Yeah.
conversation with women where I'm like, holy shit, there is a huge amount of information and wisdom here, when I was doing all of my kind of client conversations. And it felt just like it would be a totally ridiculous thing not to be able to share it more broadly.
Yeah.
So I think I'm with you there. And I'm being super mindful of your time, because I know you got to go get your kiddo, but I have to end with and this is actually the perfect segue. Um, as I was sharing with you and I've shared with others, this idea of, we're building our legacies in real time, and legacy can feel like this big word that feels like it's, heavy post death. And for me, it's really, no, it's an empowering thing to think about when we consider the intentionality that we're bringing to what we're building today. So I ask everybody, what does building a legacy mean to you?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that I think the legacy, like, when you say it that way, I'm like, oh, it feels like something I'm like, structure I'm leaving
I
behind. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
you take it how you
I
want.
don't know that I actually want that. I'm like, take it
No,
out the
good.
wall. We're gonna let that like go. That would be like something. I don't know, like my
No,
garden.
take it how you want, because I think everybody has had a very different approach to this
Well,
question,
what
which
I
is
was
why I
thinking,
love it.
yeah, what it reminds me of more is, what do I want to be remembered for?
Hmm.
And the place that I always live from is, I want the people that I encounter to feel like I saw them, that they were seen, and also well loved. I just want the people in my life to be like, oh God, it was great being loved by her. Like that to
Yes.
me is like, that's the best. It's like
Yes.
spreading the love and reflecting back the light of who I see in
I
everyone.
love that. Yes. I mean, you have been that human since I've known you.
It's
Yes.
working! Yay! Okay, I'm done. I can let him out. Is that it? I'm done.
Yep, you're good. Nailed it.
Nailed
You don't have
it.
to do anything
Cool.
ever again.
Says never.
I do find it's so, I want to just say, I think it is incredibly It is not actually easy to do. I think that using that language around how you make others feel and seeing them and showing up with kindness and joy and love, that can feel sometimes like, well, sure, of course. But actually, no, that every day you have to actually choose that. You don't just walk into your day every day with like brightness and joy. We all are carrying shit, right?
Mhm.
And so to literally intentionally make sure that that's how you're showing up in relationship with people, even though that is inherently who you are, there
Mhm.
is still some choice to be made. You could choose other. You could choose like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to say like, I'm taking my goodness and I'm going to pour it over here.
Mhm.
And I think that that is a really beautiful and valiant way to be thinking about what legacy means, from just a how you want to be remembered and how you want to make other people feel, because that I actually believe is what's going to change the world. And I don't say that lightly,
No.
because it is, everybody is craving to be
But it
seen
also
right now.
changes me. Like it's not selfless. I
No,
get
sure.
joy,
Nothing
right? Like I'm
is.
like, well, that interaction was so much better because I came at it like
Yes.
from a loving place. That means that I'm able to see how that shifts people's energy and that's there. And I think it's also because I really am like recovering again from toxic positivity. I don't think it's all joy either.
No, you're right. You're right.
Like when
Yes.
I am in this loving place, sometimes it's full of grief or like
Totally.
or even outrage, but it's
Yeah.
still loving. It's still
Yes.
from a place of humanity that I can be outraged and I can hold the boundary and I can do that in a loving way. So I think there's that even more expansiveness to being loving and reflecting back someone's humanity that isn't necessarily like being in a good mood all the time.
A
Like I'm not
hundred
in a good mood
percent.
all the time.
No, I mean, no, I hope that's not how I made it sound. I certainly
No,
don't mean that. But I'm with you. I think that there is the goodness that comes from being so in touch with yourself and where you're at and being grounded in that and centered in that authenticity is love. I really
yes,
believe that. I
yeah,
think that
yeah,
that is actually,
yes,
when we're showing up for ourselves in that way, it allows us to be in relationship with people in a very different way. It's something I've noticed dramatically over the last few years in my life, even in how I parent.
mm-hmm.
Because if I feel connected to myself, then the way I show up
Mm-hmm.
as a parent, as a spouse, as a friend is wildly different than when I'm like
Mm-hmm.
vibrating at a level that does not actually suit where I'm at. So I'm with you and I love it. And joy can be part of it, certainly, but it's
Oh,
not
of
all of it
course. I mean, I'm
always.
all,
Yeah.
are you kidding? I'm like, bring in the joy. Whatever is bringing joy and delight, I am here for it. Like
Yes.
all of it. But yeah,
Yes.
no, I totally agree. And just one last thing I'll say that you reminded me of is I think that's also part of this self-care optimization thing that happens that actually removes us from that. And
Mm,
a shift that I have had in the last just a couple years that has made such a difference for me is seeing self-care as to your point, the thing that then helps me be able to show up. It's not separate from the outpouring of love and community and connection. It's like that is the drive that we're going on, but the self-care is like putting gas in the car,
mm,
right? It isn't the end all, because the end all then it separates and becomes this whole thing, but instead it helps you show up in that way. So just as you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, like we need to feed ourselves so that we can show up and do the
yeah.
work we're here to do.
Yes. Yes. I love you. You're amazing.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Thank you. I feel like we should have had our little, lattes and like a pumpkin in the back or something, just to
100%.
like
I know. I'm
really
like,
bring the
I have
fall.
like a, yeah, I don't, it's where we are. It's where,
Well, maybe round two at some point, because you are bringing up so many compelling things, and I
oh
feel
my
like
gosh,
I
we
could
got to
talk to
talk
you for
about all my
hours.
favorite things. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what? Did I just get to talk about every one of them? Yes. This is
Yes.
amazing. Perfect.
All right, my friend. I'll see you
Thank you so
soon.
much. Okay.
Bye.